Board of Directors. Today's meeting is officially called to order. So for the record, please note Erin Kelly is representing Deputy Mayor Ann Williams Isom. Karen Sanhelier is representing Molly Wasso Park. And Dr. Shari Shamani is representing Dr. Michelle Morse, all in a voting capacity. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes for the Board of Directors meeting held on November 21st, 2024. Are there any questions, comments, or suggested changes? Can I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no, so the motion carries. During the executive session, the board received and approved oral and written governing body report from NYC Health and Hospitals Harlem and Bellevue reports. The board also received and approved the written submission of the semi-annual governing body reports from NYC Health and Hospitals Metropolitan, Henry J. Carter Long-Term Acute Care Hospital, and Henry J. Carter Nursing Facility. Vendex approvals. Since we began the process of approving contracts prior to Vendex approvals, there is one item on today's agenda requiring Vendex approval. That approval is pending. There are 35 items from previous board meetings pending Vendex approval. We will continue to notify the board as outstanding Vendex approvals are received. So let's move on to the resolutions. So I'm going to move to item number 6 in the agenda, and it's approving the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation Annual Board Committee assignments effective January 1st, 2025, as set forth in the attachment hereto as mandated by Article 6, Section 1C of the bylaws, and further authorizing as set forth in Article 5, Section 1. The vice chair shall be chosen by the board from among themselves and shall be elected annually. Approving the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation to appoint Frida Wang as the vice chair of the board of directors. And this is being presented directly to the board of directors today. You can see the slates on the screen. Any questions, or it's hard to read, you have to look at your notes. Then I'm gonna ask for your vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Okay, the resolution is approved. And then I'm gonna move to number 7. Sally Nunes Pinheiro, can you read it?
Hold a second, it just disappeared.
Good afternoon, everyone. Catherine
Just one-
Patsos, Chief Corporate Compliance Officer. As you can
Give
tell,
us
my
one
voice
second.
is.
Give us 1 second, 1 second.
One second.
Authorizing the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, the system to execute a contract with Coal Fire Systems, Inc. for HIPAA risk analysis services at a not-to-exceed amount of $7 million for a contract term of 3 years with 2 renewal options exercisable at the discretion of the system.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. As you can tell, my voice is not very good today. With me here is Sean Vidori, who is the Chief Information Security Officer. This is a compliance and security endeavor, so I'm going to let her take the helm for the lion's share of the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Nice to see you. So I'm going to start with the background and current state. So the HIPAA risk analysis is an enterprise-wide project that examines the privacy and security of the system's protected health information, including the electronic protected health information, EPHI. Risk assessments analysis services are required by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Civil Rights, which is the OCR. And the system currently lacks the sufficient internal resources to conduct an enterprise-wide HIPAA risk analysis that meets the OCR's requirements. For that reason, we have Coal Fire Systems Incorporated that has been our incumbent vendor since 2019. Their contract will expire on December 31st, 2024. The current agreement was for 3 years and had an NTE of $4 million. The current spend for this contract is $3,971,003. A new RFP was issued to identify a well-qualified vendor to conduct the enterprise-wide HIPAA risk analysis that meets the OCR's requirement. RFP criteria, minimum criteria, a firm must have performed risk analysis and security assessment services at a minimum of 2 separate multi-facility healthcare systems, must be in good standing with High Trust, have 4 years in business of the area, have an MWBE utilization plan, waiver, or MWBE certification. As part of the criteria, it has to meet 40% of the HIPAA security risk assessment experience and 30% of the assessment methodology and reporting, along with 15% associated costs, 10% MWBE, and 5% invoicing. The evaluation committee was comprised of corporate compliance, EITS members, Office of Legal Affairs, South Brooklyn Health, and Kings County. Next slide. As for the overview of the procurement, back in June, we started the application to issue requests for proposal approved by CRC. By the end of June, RFP that was posted on the city record sent directly to 4 vendors. Early July, July 8th, pre-proposal conference was held with 12 vendors attending. By July 25th, we had the proposals due and 3 proposals were received. September 4th, 2024, the evaluation committee submitted their round 1 scores. By September 13th, the vendor presentation was held. 2 vendors were invited to participate. By September 24th, 2024, evaluation committee submitted their final scores, and below is the top scoring proposer, being Coal-Fired Systems Incorporated. Next slide, as you can see in the vendor performance, Coal-Fire did meet all of the criteria with an overall rating of excellent. Next slide. For vendor diversity, the team set a goal for 10% for the solicitation broken down in the following, with infrastructure security penetration testing at 5% and vendor risk assessment at 5%. Coal-Fired Systems Incorporated will self-perform the entire scope of the services, as all software and methodologies are proprietary, which is consistent with its past performance of such services. An MWBE waiver was submitted by the vendor after review. The vendor diversity team approved the waiver request as consistent with the systems vendor diversity policy OP 100-10. That concludes the presentation with the Board of Directors' request for authorizing the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, the system, to execute a contract with Coal-Fired Systems Incorporated for the HIPAA risk analysis services at a not-to-exceed amount of $7 million for a contract term of 3 years and 2 renewal options exercisable at the discretion of the system. Thank you.
We'd be happy to take any questions.
Yeah, just so I understand, the actual role then is, since we are internally trying to make sure our HIPAA compliance is always in place, is the role basically to oversee our systems and how we're doing? Is that the major
It's-
role?
Well, in a sense, they also, they compare what we're doing against the HIPAA requirements and against NIST, which is the standard. And the NIST is
The National Institute of Security and Technology Standards.
to make sure that our systems are in line with those practices and requirements.
And can you just give a general sense of how that performance on our part has been in the last?
How the performance, how our progress has been.
The performance, I'm just curious, obviously they're overseeing to be sure our systems are working and they're safe, et cetera, and they're compliant. Are we okay in that area? Have we performed well? Are there areas that we still?
We actually have
Efficiencies.
improved tremendously to the point where initially, back when they first started, we had some high risks issues and some materially non-compliant areas. And then at that time, the threshold based on the metrics, the heat map, threshold was a score of 15. Because we eliminated all of the very high and many of the high risks, we lowered the threshold to 12. So that incorporates some medium risks. So we have, over the past 6 years.
Yes.
we have improved tremendously under their, the recommendations that they make, that we implement. And when they make recommendations and we implement their recommendations, we track that internally to make sure that we have a schedule of when each mitigation plan is supposed to be completed. And we track that bi-weekly with security and compliance.
Okay, go ahead.
The contract before was 4 million and now it's 7 and it's shorter. So what has changed?
Sure. It was for 3 years, previous contract. This contract is for 3 years with 2 one-year options, and there was a 5% increase over the price to accommodate for the rate of inflation.
So, okay, so it was 4 million for each year of 2019 to
4 million for the entire
Total.
contract, 3 years.
Okay, so it was not from 19 to 24. It was from
No, no,
21
no.
to 24.
They were 2 separate.
Got it.
Coal-Fire's been with us since 2019 over the course of 2 contract periods.
Got it, okay. So then each of the, okay, so, but 4 million to 7 million is not 5%. So what's the,
Because there's 2 1-year, it's a 5-year.
got it, okay.
That's it.
A little confusing, sorry.
It was previously 3 years.
Right, it was previously 3
Correct.
years.
So that's the change.
Okay. Then let me take it for a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no.
I got it, yeah.
So the resolution approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to President's report, Dr. Katz.
Okay, very good, thank you. So on December 1st, we observed World AIDS Day, and as someone who was in the center of the response in San Francisco during the horrible years, I love just sort of reading the statistics that we're currently, Health and Hospitals is taking care of 12,000 patients with HIV, 98% of whom are on antiretroviral therapy and 88% with suppressed viral loads. That's just amazing. I was with Natalia, has been so wonderful at recognizing our nurses across the system. And for her annual event, we together honored 35 nurse professionals, and there was a wonderful presentation from Michael Bolus, the son of our much revered nurse board member, and it was a really nice event. New York Academy inducted 3 of our health system leaders. We were noted as 4 of the best maternity programs in the U.S. News and World Report. They were Bellevue, Elmhurst, Lincoln, and Woodhull. We were nationally recognized for our hypertension, diabetes, and cholesterol control. The work with the asylum seekers is going well in the sense of the new case management program has done, I think, a really great job of connecting people into long-term supports, which is our goal, helping people get their visas, helping people to get work, helping people to get work permits, helping people to find ongoing housing and food, and it's overall resulted as people have been able to get economic ways of support, overall decreases in the size of our asylum-seeking population. I won't attempt to read it. We've had some phenomenal events around arts and medicine, a dance and music therapy event on Rikers, a beautiful, beautiful mural with historic photos of East Harlem residents and the Young Lords for the Metropolitan Flood Wall. Kohler has a new community mural, and there was Jacoby has a new mural, and Lincoln has a new mural, and the Illumination Fund, Lori Tisch Illumination Fund, announced at our event At Bellevue last week, an additional $25 million towards arts and medicine. So, you know, really major support. We've gone to the cloud with the medication management technology so that we hope that this will result in fewer incorrect doses because it connects to Epic, the patient's medical record, also better inventory management, able to make sure that if we're running low on something that we can, you know, quickly restock. We have a energy efficiency upgrade at Queens, which will save money and energy. I sent you the report about the specialized surgery at Elmhurst. I don't always try to highlight the things that go on in health and hospitals because so many great things go on in health and hospitals. But just the pictures, if you remember, so amazing. This man who had a contracture flexure of his hand and therefore really could not engage in any activities to help himself, had surgery by this incredibly skilled hand surgeon that we had at Elmhurst to relieve the tension. And the pictures show him, he's now at Kohler, but that he now has restored function to the hand. Really, you know, sort of state-of-the-art kinds of, you know, surgeries that go way beyond our usual mission as, you know, a safety net provider, you know, keeping people alive, right? This was not about disease. This was about enabling someone to regain the use of their hand. It was really a nice thing to read about. We're making progress on the flood wall at Met. I mentioned that already. That's certainly very important to us. Metro Plus increased their breast cancer screening rates. I think Deb covered the most important thing about, you know, the current state of external events, which is the failure of the continuing resolution to go through yesterday, but we'll all, you know, pay attention to the newspaper and hopefully they will have some other way of keeping our government running. Meanwhile, the city will release its city budget January 16. Aaron helps us a lot in that, which we appreciate, along with the deputy mayor. And the CAB had its party on December 3rd. So that it's the end of the year, good time to say how much not just me, but everyone who works at health and hospitals feels grateful to this board. I've been part of many different boards, and one of the things that I think really has characterized this board in health and hospitals is how we feel supported. We don't, you know, questions come up, that's good, but it has never felt like a antagonistic relationship or a suspicious relationship. It's always felt like, you know, a group of people who support us, are interested, have good ideas on how we could be better, have legitimate questions that enable us to be better. But, you know, not just me, but I think all of the health and hospital staff really appreciate this board. They appreciate when you go to their CAB meetings. They appreciate when you tour the hospitals. They appreciate when you meet the doctors and nurses. It's overall, you know, really experienced not as a, you know, they're here to check up on us.
Absolutely.
It's really experienced as they're here to support us and make the services better. And that is not, as all of you know, that is not always the relationship between a board and a department or health service. Sometimes there can be suspicion, negativity, you know, but I've never experienced that here. And I'm very grateful for that and very grateful for your role in making health and hospitals a better place. So thank you very much.
So just to let you know, you're absolutely right. They appreciate, you know, when I first came on, matter of fact, February be 2 years. Seems like I've been here for 5 years. But anyway, February 2 years. But when I first came on the board, Calethea made sure, first of all, let me congratulate your team. They're just doing a great job.
Yes, they sure are. Alicia and her team
And Jackie,
keep us
all
all
of you.
going.
But let me tell you, when I first came on the board, Calethea worked me to death. She really did. And she worked me in a good way and partnered me with Sally, and at that time, what's our girl name? What they say, out of sight, out of mind. Partnered me with, what was our board that, uh, um, y'all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, say the name, say the name.
Bob Nolan.
Barbara.
Ne-
And
Barbara Lowe.
yes, Barbara. And coming on, when I wanted to go to every city. She made, oh my God. I said, oh, please, Calethea, wait a minute, Jaffe. But I say that to say what Dr. Katz was saying is so true. The enjoyment of seeing the board member there and they run around making sure everything is good and they can, because I was told, and I'm sure most of you know, that in the past it was so, scary. Like when you go there, oh, here they come, they looking for stuff. But we would go in and say, hi, we came for the goodness. When you walk in and you let them know, no, I didn't come to the spot because we know everything going on in the hospital because you always got somebody that's going to tell. Okay. And I would let them know. But the joy was how much they appreciated and was very relaxed. And that's because Dr. Katz, I'm not trying to gain no more points from you, but that was because of the leadership. And not only Dr. Katz's leadership, but our chair leadership. And it's very important that people know that because I was on the ground, as you call boots on the ground, and I would come and they would call Calethea and Jetty and tell all the stuff, that we did. So that's very important for this board to know and go to some of these things. Go to some of these things. And you'll see, you make them relax and they can give our patients better health care. Just knowing that the board approves and is so good. So I needed to say that for 2024.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yes.
Okay.
Very good.
Any questions for Dr. Katz?
Oh, it's the end of the year.
End of the year.
Oh, my
The end of
God.
the year.
So, I think the things that I was gonna say were said, so. But thank you to all of you and our staff, and Dr. Katz, of course.
Thank you.
So the committee reports were emailed to you and are in your electronic folders for your review and submission into the record. Are there any questions or comments about the reports? Is there any old or new business to come before this board? So hearing none, the board meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
This meeting is no longer being recorded.